I was scouted in a shopping centre for a H&M campaign. I became the first hijab wearing model in the world. But in terms of like mainstream brands working with visible Muslim women, it was just pretty unheard of.
We are honoured to have Mariah Idrissi as our guest, a Muslim hijab model, an influencer, and a public speaker.
My mum described me as she said, she's not going to be a rocket scientist. They established that early.
Modest fashion, 2 words, do they go together or are they opposite each other?
If we look at the whole marketing space, because even Islamically, like marketing is quite a taboo area. It allows opportunities for people to be deceitful. If we understand how we're created biologically, to procreate, if we expected man to not be attracted to females, what do we want? The minute he stops being attracted to you, you're going extinct.
However, before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, supporters and well-wishers, if you are enjoying the contents on Side by Side, please do consider subscribing to our channel on the platform you are tuned into. It is your subscription that motivates us to keep edging forward episode by episode. And inshallah, with you by our side, we will reach the top. With that being said, I'm presenting to you Mariah Idrissi. Assalamu alaikum, Mariah.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you for coming in. We have been trying to get this organized for a while, and alhamdulillah, finally we have managed to get you into our studio.
Alhamdulillah, thank you for having me.
Alhamdulillah. So, just to give our viewers and listeners a bit of a context on, I know they know who Mariah Idrissi is, but for those who don't know, give us a bit of an early context into your life before we start with our, preset questions.
Sure. Well, I guess people would recognize me most for being in the fashion industry. In 2015, I was scouted in a shopping centre for a H&M campaign. And then I became the first hijab wearing model in the world because I guess at that time we had a huge, industry of like people promoting modest fashion, and all of that was already existing. But in terms of like mainstream brands working with a visible Muslim woman for a campaign, it was just pretty unheard of. So then after that, it just kind of blew up from there. So that's how my journey as a model started, and got signed to select models, and just
amazing. So if we were to go back in time, I don't know, maybe your first 10 years in existence to this world, what was life like as a child?
As a kid? My childhood, wow. I grew up in the 90s, so obviously it was a bit different. We didn't have social media, the internet took 10 minutes to load up. Alhamdulillah, I had a really good childhood. I can't identify any childhood traumas or anything. So I had a good childhood. I was always creative. My mum described me as she said, she's not going to be a rocket scientist. They established that early, which is good because I was very free to express myself and express my creativity and even supported, actually, which is quite, I think, rare in brown, Asian, African households. Normally it's like, you want to be an actress? Nah, you got to study. That's not. Whereas with my mum, she would take me to auditions and support all my creative endeavors. I did poetry, so I grew up with a lot of the the Muslim poetry scene, and I think a lot of people think the people I know now is because of post H&M, that campaign. But actually, I grew up with a lot of people who became, mashallah, very successful in the future.
Amazing. Now,
nice.
Which one of your parents from Morocco?
My dad.
Your dad?
Yes.
Usually it's the other way around, isn't it?
Yeah, and do you know what? Even when I was growing up, that's another thing. It was unheard of. People are like, you're half Pakistani, half Moroccan. But now it's like, oh yeah, is your dad Pakistani? I'm like, no. And then they're like, oh, that's still unheard of then.
Yeah, normally it's the other way around.
All the Pakistani guys go Moroccan.
So what was life like? Obviously you've got now 2 cultures coming together.
Yeah.
Your father, normally, I think people have become used to the mum being, I don't know, Moroccan or Algerian or Tunisian or whatever.
Yeah.
But what was life like for your father adjusting to the Desi or the South Asian culture?
Do you know what? I think my parents had a bit slightly easier in a way because my uncle, my dad's brother, also married a Pakistani woman. And that's how they were introduced because my mum and his wife are family friends. So they already kind of had the blueprint of like, okay, yeah. So my dad is used to eating spicy food, and all of them now, they love their mirch and stuff. Yeah, so.
You're quite young. You look young. I mean, you said he passed away. Was it an early death or he died at the normal age?
No, it was he was 59, so it was pretty. I'm the eldest. I've got 2 younger brothers, so he passed away quite young, and it was a shock because his whole life he must have like completely healthy, and then he got a really bad cough. He was a smoker. Doctors said, "Oh, he's just got a cough that's taking a while." After months, when he lost a significant amount of weight and his voice started to change, only then, like months later, they decided, let's do a scan. Found out he's stage 4 cancer. And he had like less than a year to live. So that for us was a shock because my youngest brother was only 13. So
did they say what the cause could have been?
They said it was a tumor, but actually, funny enough, it wasn't related to smoking or because when they checked his organs, they were like, it's fine. It was just something that, subhanallah,
like that is it's crazy because now there's lots of gyms and lots of fitness activities happening, but you think one part of you thinks, what, I'm just doing it for my body. I think it deserves the love and attention it requires. But on the other hand, like you could just die on that treadmill.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what's scary as well when you hear these stories about people that have like they're like having fits and then one day they just suddenly die. And I've heard a couple of people this happen to, and it's like you got to be so on point and in tune with yourself. If something's not right, not to the point where you're like a hypochondriac, but
don't ask Google because according to Google you're supposed to be dead.
I know, yeah. Everything, even me, like I had a little thing on my nail, and it's like that could be a sign of so yeah. You just got to be on point with yourself.
Honestly, like because cancer is so widespread, and you think, what, maybe what if it's this, what if it's that, and your brain goes out of control.
Yeah, honestly.
But I guess you just have to give it a few weeks, and if it doesn't go, then you have to take it further.
Yeah, and also, like, do you know what? The idea, even in Islamic like philosophy, it's about prevention before cure. Same with Chinese medicine. They look at the body as a whole, not like, oh, you got a problem here, then that's the problem. It's something else that's probably underlying. And even when you look at the body as a whole, so I do acupuncture. Well, I don't do acupuncture. I receive acupuncture, and I've been doing it for a few years, and it's so interesting because it really puts into perspective how much your emotions, your psyche, everything is related to your body essentially.
What while you're going through the treatment, or is it a introduction that they give you as to what it's all about?
So okay, this is really interesting actually. I wish my acupuncturist was here. You'd explain it way better. But essentially, usually you get like your pulse check. So they just to see your vital organs, if there's anything like shocking or something wrong, and then they also kind of face read you. So generally they'll be able to establish like, okay, you lean toward this element. And your elements, the time you're born, your personality type, all of this connects to your health in a way. So if you're someone that's naturally a bit more fiery, impatient, whatever, you're probably going to have problems with your heart or blood pressure or something you're fiery.
I better go and see it.
You should. I tell everyone, I really feel like it's something like prophetic that was brought down, because who decided one day, oh yeah, we're going to get a needle and stick it somewhere and it's going to like heal you over time. So I think on one side it's really good for like psychologically how it helps you and physically, but also even for just common pains. The first time I went, I had a trapped nerve. And I was like, yeah, these osteopaths, the clicker is not doing nothing. I need something. It's deep inside. Had a few needles. The next morning, I forgot it was like I had a problem the day before. It just completely went, and that's when I was sold.
Is that when you went because of that pain, or?
Yeah. So I was recommended through a friend, like, oh, you should visit my acupuncturist. Sat with him, and he's a Muslim as well. Alhamdulillah. So that it helps because we can put things.
Yeah, I think I need his number. I need to go and check this out.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out Abdurrahman. Yeah.
I've always wondered because you go past these shops and then it shows that picture with so many needles in the back.
Yeah.
It looks scary, but I should try it out.
Yeah, especially with South Asians and all our conditions and stuff. Even just the general back pain, everyone complains. Just for that level, it will do wonders.
Now, hijab. Did grow up wearing a hijab, or was it something that came into your life later on?
So I grew up in a household family. No one wore hijab, to be honest, around me. I had friends, but no one in my like inner circle. And again, because I was in that poetry space, and alhamdulillah, I was around the right people. So I was conscious that, I wear hijab if I'm doing poetry here and there or in these, Muslim settings. But then when I go to school or, outside of school, I'm not wearing it. And then I started praying 5 times a day when I was about 17. And it was consistent. So I'm carrying like a hijab with me. And one day I was like, why don't I just keep it on my head? Like, so after Ramadan, I wore it for the whole month of Ramadan when I was about 18 or 17, And then I just said, I'm not going to take it off now. It doesn't make sense. And then doing that campaign, even if I wanted to, it's like, you're recognized for the hijab. Like, I definitely can't take it off.
Now, Ramadan is actually a truly special month because it brings so much changes if you really are looking for those changes.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's definitely, something that I've reflected upon even last Ramadan. And it's so strange because in Ramadan, certain things are very easy for you to do, like Islamic stuff. But outside of Ramadan, it's difficult. And if you can get into the habit within the month of Ramadan, then you can just nicely carry over. And I think that's 100%. Probably what happened with you.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, because, it starts from within. I think everyone has their own, their own journey. Everyone's got like their own entry point to how, I guess, Iman enters your heart. Some people it's through maybe marriage or someone they're with or something really bad happening, something really good happening, whatever it is. And for me, I think it was like prayer, definitely. Just the consciousness of like, if you don't pray, at what point of the day do you just randomly decide like, oh, I'm just going to think about Allah and just meditate? Unless you really structure, even people that say, meditate for 15 minutes every morning, that's part of their routine, it's their structure. It doesn't just happen consistently every single day without them being conscious of it. They have to incorporate that into their daily life. So Allah's already given us this blueprint of how to stay connected to Him. So it's like, why not follow it,
No, definitely, 100%.
Yeah.
Now, hijab, obviously, is you did it because you started praying and you probably realized, it's the next thing to do, the natural thing to do. So it was more for the fear of Allah as opposed to as a token of, I suppose, self-respect or statement. When did it dawn on you, like, I need to pray? Sometimes, like, it doesn't come to you quite naturally all the time. And sometimes something has to trigger and you have to think to yourself, I want to pray. Because for me as well, like, when I was young, I knew I should pray, but certain prayers I missed. And then I don't know what happened to me. And then I to get myself into a routine, I used to have this folder. And on the cover of the folder, I would have pray or burn in hell with fire picture, with fire graphics around it.
How old were you?
I think I was like 15 or 16 at that time. But I started with the easiest prayer and then slowly get that consistent. And then I moved.
What was your easiest prayer?
I think it was the Zohar one.
Because
it's like
already up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But now my next challenge is to get into pray in Jamaat, like in the masjid. So on my daily to-do list is like pray 2 salah in masjid. I kept on saying, do you know what? It has to be Fajr. Like, you have to go for the hard one first. Then I was like, you know what? It's not quite happening. So start with the easy stuff and then inshallah work my way up. So subhanAllah, amazing. Those reminders, while they seem so annoying at that time, like I have an uncle, at family gatherings. If he's watching, he will know who he is. It's either my beard or the length of my thobe or salah. So I'm like, recently he reminded me again. I thought, you know what? While it sounds very annoying, but he's got a point.
Oh yeah, to just be on point basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And it reminds me of what the brother said to you. I'm sure it sounded very annoying at that time. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then you later realize, wow, I need to make some decisions.
Yeah, definitely.
This, I find it very interesting because in my family, we're all Bengalis. We've grown up being Bengalis.
I was going to ask you Bengali.
But it must be quite difficult when you have 2 sets of families. And I'm sure you would have those snarky jokes, in the middle. And I just find it interesting or intriguing. How does it work in a family setting? Like you've got Pakistani mom, Moroccan dad,
Mixed, yeah.
Does it ever get awkward?
Do you know what? I think when there was weddings and stuff, I'd be a bit conscious of like, because my mum's side are a bit more conservative and my dad's side are more liberal. So there was that consciousness of, oh my God, like when they get together, they're quite opposite. But then as you get older, I don't know, you just stop caring in a way. You actually find it entertaining rather than feeling, when you're young, you feel everything's embarrassing or you're so conscious of whatever, how it looks like. But then when you get older, you find it amusing. So now, actually, I appreciate it. I appreciate also growing up where I had more conservative family members that I felt like, I need to study, I need to, dress modestly, and then I also had the more relaxed to, I guess,
yeah,
just chill with. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, modeling, modesty, fashion, I mean, are these words that go with each other or are they opposite of each other? Because from my understanding, and I'm just speaking in general, not because I'm a Muslim akhi and a brother, I'm just having a conversation as to, how does it sit, modesty and fashion? I mean, is it not meant to be, modesty is meant to be modesty and fashion?
I'm looking at your skin, I'm like...
So how does it go? Because it's on the rise, this modest fashion. But then again, the two words, do they go together or are they opposite each other?
Do you know what? I think it's definitely like perspective in a way, because with so many things you can find the good in it. But the way I look at things overall is I try to weigh out, is there more good or bad in this situation? And it is a tough one, because on one hand, I've had experiences where I've met women saying, their daughters couldn't even just get a job, normal job in France or Belgium and those countries because they wore hijab. So they're either faced with having no income or taking their hijab off to work. And alhamdulillah, there was one case where a retail store in a village, I think it was a H&M actually, they were protesting, saying that you can't have someone representing your brand in a hijab, but then you won't hire us. And they actually started to hire girls who wore hijab. So I was like, wow, that's like, what a
massive
revolution.
Change, yeah.
But then on the other hand, of course, if we look at it, if we look at the whole marketing space, because even Islamically, like marketing is quite a taboo area. It's not something, it's like a makruh kind of industry to be in, because it allows opportunities for people to be deceitful, to lie, to encourage materialism. So there's all these like negative things, but it's not overtly like haram, obviously. Like people have always sold, and this trade is the oldest trade in the world. So it is down to, I think, your intentions of what your long-term goal is, and just being conscious of yourself. If you're doing it for purely like Allah in the Quran, if we talk about like lowering your gaze and covering yourself, they come hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to be valued as equal and strong, and then take responsibility the same way men do. You can't say, I don't want no responsibility, but I want to be seen as equally responsible and strong. It's the irony.
Contradictory.
Yeah, it is. And that's where it's like, and I'm not saying I don't care if people, how they dress. It's not, I guess I will say I'm a woman, so it doesn't really affect me. But if I'm just talking like black and white. So however you are, that's your, it doesn't, it's not my problem. But I'm just saying it as just generally, like everyone take accountability.
So now moving forward slightly to H&M, how did that come about?
That was the initial scouted in a children's shop.
Children's shop?
Yes, I was in uni, so I was working part-time in a children's shop.
Okay, I thought like you... Yeah, I was like, yo, they must have had their eyes on you for a very long time.
Oh, no, not like that. That would have been disturbing. No, I was just working there, and a woman called Coralie, she has her own casting agency, popped in and was like, can I take a photo of you? And I was like, oh my God, why? Obviously you don't really get asked that at work when you're like in a tracksuit or whatever. And she said she's a casting agent. Because, again, my background was more like film and that side of the creative arts, I was like, oh my God, great. I'm going to be part of like a film casting agency. And she's like, no, this is for ads, like fashion campaigns. I was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't think anything of it. I thought, okay.
You didn't know who the client was or who was going to be.
Or Sainsbury's or whatever.
Yeah,
I didn't know anything. And then a few weeks later, she said, oh, H&M want you in a campaign. I was like, okay, I still didn't think anything of it. And then after the campaign happened, my Instagram was private. I wasn't like, there was no social media presence or anything like that. But I had all these people trying to add me and like BBC emailing me and stuff. And I don't even know how the hell they found my contact details. And then my mum Googled and she was like, I just told her, I was like, this is really weird. I did this campaign and she said, oh my God, it says you're the first hijab wearing model in the world. And I was compared to like the first black model in the 1950s or something. So I was like, what do I do? And she was like, just milk it, you know? So that's when I got signed to a modeling agent. And even then, as the first hijab wearing woman they had on their modeling board, it just wasn't like really a thing. And alhamdulillah, from then it just started to, like, it was a domino effect.
Hey guys, I hope you have been enjoying today's episode of Side by Side with myself and our guest, Mariah Idrissi. If you have been enjoying the contents on Side by Side podcast, please do consider subscribing to our channel on the platform you are tuned into. And if you have any guest recommendations and any questions, please comment below and share it with family and friends. Now let's get straight back into the show.
Obviously, more
so
girls got
how long did it take between the photograph and the actual campaign going live?
About a couple months, maybe. It wasn't long. It was quite quick, yeah.
Did you ever ask her, like, what made you come to me, and what was there a certain criteria that she was looking for?
So she was specifically looking for like diverse people from diverse backgrounds, because the campaign was about diversity and everyone recycling. So it was trying to show people from all different cultures, walks of life. And they wanted, I guess, a visible Muslim woman. So that was she was like, yeah, great. She said, I look cool. I was like,
wow.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing. And were you an introvert before that?
That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever been an introvert. I'm on the cusp, according to my 16 personalities. Have you ever done one of those tests before? Oh, you should do it after this. It only takes like 10 minutes.
16 personality. Yeah.
So there's something called 16 personalities, and basically there's apparently 16 personalities, and you can fall into like 4 different subcategories. And so yeah, apparently I'm an ENFJ. So I'm
what does that mean?
So the E stands for extroverted. So you can either be E or I. So extroverted, introverted. N is intuitive. You can either be intuitive or more sensory. F is feeling, or you could be thinking. So I use more feeling. And then J is judgmental, or I think perceptive. So apparently I judge more. But it's not always a bad thing, judging. They say that most people with J are leaders because they have to make decisions.
They have to make decisions,
You can't like ponder too much. Yeah, we should. Yeah,
wow,
definitely do. It'll be interesting.
Interesting. So, your Instagram blew up, your social media started blowing up. I think that's when I came across your profile as well, when it was a big media hype.
Oh, okay, cool. A long time ago, yeah.
And then I remember we were at an event, you know, the one where Mohammed Hadid came and...
Oh, that Arabian Business Award
2019, I believe.
Yeah.
Andrew Neil was presenting the thing.
Oh, you were there? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's when I, again, like, you know, came across your profile.
Wow.
And then very recently again, you know, I started following your journey because we wanted you to come on the podcast.
It's interesting because even me, obviously, I've known about Sunnah Musk for a very long time. I buy perfumes as gifts for people.
Amazing.
So it's cool, yeah. This is
amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what was life like afterwards, post campaign?
It definitely changed because I couldn't obviously work in the shop anymore. Like,
was it that big?
Yeah, it was. At that time, it was pretty intense. I mean, I was doing interviews with like South Korean journalists and Colombian and again, like the idea of like Muslim women was, it still obviously has negative connotations, like women who choose to wear hijab, but back then it was definitely worse because there was way more ignorance around it. So I was like, I didn't really look at negative comments, but I was conscious that like, wow, there's a whole world that are really supportive and love what I'm doing. And then there's a whole other world that are like, why are we supporting like terrorism and like the kind of people like that? So it was tough because that obviously affected how brands also wanted to navigate, because they're kind of like, this is cool just because we've seen like how impactful working with a Muslim is, but then they're a bit scared to like, you know, touch anyone that even now I think there's still elements of like, unless the thing is about the hijab or diversity, we wouldn't just work with a Muslim woman with a hijab for the sake of just working. I mean, some brands do, can't speak for all of them, but there are definitely some that will only cater it to something they're doing that is they need a woman in hijab.
Now, how did you manage your own, I guess, self at that point? Like, I'm sure when you get recognized everywhere you go, you know, lots of social media following. So you said your social media was private and then suddenly everything changed. You know, how did you manage yourself? Because it's easy to fall into the trap of, you know what, I'm somebody now, you know, I have to look around to see if they're recognizing me. Did you have that phase at all where you're thinking, you know what, like, you know, I need to control myself, I need to suppress my pride and ego?
Alhamdulillah, do you know what? I think because I've always had like big goals and stuff. You know, when people go on stage and like, I never thought I'd be here. I know it sounds arrogant, astaghfirullah, it's not arrogant, but I don't think I'd be that person because I was like, I've always had big goals. So it's like, in one way, it actually humbles you because you don't ever get that gassed. You're just like, it's dunya. I had big goals. I believe that Allah is ar-Razaq, everything can happen. So I'm so great. It's more about I was so grateful, but I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe, you know. I think I couldn't believe how I got there because I was like, fashion, really? Like, you know, I like fashion, obviously. I'm a woman, you know, I like to dress up and look nice, but it wasn't like that was an industry I was really trying to go down. So then that was quite interesting, that side. But in terms of just fame and whatever, it's like, what
did it ever occur to you like you might become famous, or is that maybe one part of your mind, was there anything like, you know what, it would be nice to be recognized and, you know, be impactful?
Yeah, so that's I think that was why it probably I wasn't as like, I'm out of, you know, a fish out of water. I felt like I could swim comfortably because I was already in that creative
frame
art
of
space.
mind, yeah?
Yeah, I was already doing poetry. I was already doing, you know, I was extras in movies and writing my own film. And, you know, so I already had this idea that I'm going to enter this industry one day, inshallah. Whatever comes with it comes, but I know that's the space I'm working towards being in. So being in it was kind of like, oh, alhamdulillah, like, I didn't expect it through this route, but...
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you spoke about some people hating and a lot of people appreciating.
Yeah.
What was the Muslim percentage of hate?
I think on both Muslim and non-Muslim, it was like 50-50 from each side. So I think there's probably, I don't know how many Muslims. To be honest, mashallah, like I said, my followers significantly flew up. So I guess there was a lot of love. I like to think that. You know, sometimes people don't follow you.
Not all people who are following
are
following out of love.
Actually, I don't know. But it was, I think there was like confusion. The same kind of question you asked, like, how far does this modest fashion idea go? Like, when does it become not modest anymore or whatever? I think that's what people were worried about. There was definitely, even me, I was worried because I was like, alhamdulillah, I'm pretty grounded in my faith. So I know even if I'm stuck in a room and someone's saying, do something weird, I'm like, yeah, nah.
No, I'm not doing
peace,
that. Yeah.
But then I started to think, oh, if these doors are now opened, I can't, you know, say the same for every Muslim woman who gets an opportunity offered to her. How far will she go? How grounded are other people that are representing our religion if these opportunities are coming? So I did think that, but then at the same time I was like, that's between them and Allah, what can I do?
No, definitely.
It's not my...
Do you think by sticking to your guns and, you know, embracing your appearance and your hijab and your personality and your belief and deen, you know, it worked in your favor ultimately? Yeah.
It's definitely, I mean, there's been like explicit things that have I've been held back from, when I say explicit, I mean things that were told to my face, basically like, we can't work with you because it's an issue that you wear hijab or whatever. Opportunities where, even in a nice way, we wanted someone to have a certain hairstyle or wear a certain outfit. So there's definitely things where I'm conscious, like, oh yeah, you know, I couldn't do them.
Yeah.
But I look at the reason why Islam is so beautiful is because, going back even to the whole structure of prayer, it's beyond prayer. It structures your life. So in a world where everyone feels so overwhelmed by all these options, I don't know what to do, I'm confused, Islam grounds you where it limits you, but not limits you from anything good. It only limits you from what's bad for you anyway. So it's like, that helps you focus more and be more streamlined. So if you're confused about all these options, this, that, if you break it down to actually how many of those things are not good for me spiritually, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I'm only left with these few things and I can focus on that and it will benefit me in the next life. So it's not just I'm working, and I'm going to die and everything I've worked for is useless to me. So
no, definitely 100%. Now we're in 2024. Social media, I know you've been on so many different features. You've been to even Corner Shop show.
Yeah, Isla.
Isla. I do enjoy his contents, mashallah. It's like a director quality, film quality stuff he produces. And I always admired his work. How did that come about?
So I met Isla at an event and then just click with someone's like, yeah, we got the same kind of ideas and stuff. And I was like acting in the Halalians.
Mm-hmm. Halalians, yeah.
And then I started to like co-write some of the episodes. And then from there, we've just been working together like for a few years now. He's like family. His wife's like my sister. We just feel like long lost cousins.
Amazing.
So, alhamdulillah, yeah.
So do you guys have like, big plans to maybe perhaps make a movie or something like this?
Yeah, actually, inshallah, like we're working on something. So we'll see how that goes. I feel like every time I astaghfirullah, I don't want to say when I say things it doesn't happen, but there's been moments where I've been working on movies and then it gets shelved. So I'm like, inshallah, that's it. Yeah, there is something. Yeah.
So now that obviously you've got a name for yourself and mashallah, I don't know if you are opening business or if you are into fashion or if you're going to do something in the near future. What's in the horizon?
I really believe in collaboration. I think the world is so saturated with so many businesses and ideas, and it's like if you want to start something, unless it's really, this is like me talking from a business perspective now. If you want to start something, unless it's really unique, it's not out there, great, go for it. If you want to do something and you just believe it's going to work because you're going to put in hard work, I think it's better to collaborate with something that's existing already, that you can lend your ideas for and whatever, and it's easier as well because they've already done the groundwork, than trying to have to question yourself, why does everyone want to do their own thing? Is it for your ego, or is it because you actually feel like, no, this is something unique and I need to create it? So for me, in terms of like fashion or this, that, if I ever, like, I would like to do a hijab collection, but I'm not a designer and there's a million designers. I'd rather just collab with one and do a collection than start trying to find manufacturers, material, this, that, from the ground up just because, it's a cool idea to create my own hijabs. So that's, yeah.
So what do you do? I mean, do you work or I mean, you're into so many things. Like, what is your main, thing that you do apart from modeling?
So I'd say my main thing now is writing, actually. So I contribute to magazines. I am writing on a big project, and I am working on creating like a series of short documentaries. I brought one out recently called Britain's First Mosque, and essentially it's about sharing migrant stories from our perspective, because even though they exist out there, who are the ones behind it? Generally, it's not us. And within that, I also want to do like community engagement. So with, again, migrant communities, whether that is workshops, consultancy, and essentially it's storytelling. That's really it. So I don't really have like one specific, like a 9 to 5. It's just working on projects that connect to the things that I want to do.
If a brand came to you and said, look, you can pick your job title, you can literally design your job spec, what would it be?
Storyteller.
And what would that entail? What would you give that brand?
So I think now, actually, this is going into, again, business again, advertising and stuff. I think the world of like influencers and all that, it's definitely shifting. Everything has its peak and then something has to change, like with all markets. And rather than trying to do that saying, doing the same thing, expecting different results is crazy. That's what people...
That's the definition of, what's that?
Insanity.
Madness, insanity.
Yeah. It's like, that's kind of what I see is happening. Brands are still pushing, I want to do it this or this. and then they're complaining afterwards we're not getting the results. So you got to just change it up. It doesn't mean, stop working with that industry is dead. It needs to be worked with differently. And for me, the storytelling element is, if you're a brand and I'm going to work with you, rather than just being like, this is my morning coffee routine or whatever, it's like, I'd rather tell a story, because that's, again, one of the oldest trades in the world, like to be a storyteller, to be a writer, a poet, whatever it is, and just incorporating that into advertising because it's successful. Everyone does that on a big scale. So we need to bring it to I guess more of a digital, smaller scale as well, in my opinion. And that will definitely, I think, skim a few people out because not everyone has that skill, But that's live again. I mean, look, I've been harsh on this podcast.
With social media, I mean, anyone can be a influencer, but maybe not a celebrity. Because sometimes, astaghfirullah, I don't think it's ego, but I just feel like, because I have had this documentary on Channel 4 and stuff like that, and people sometimes say, you're a influencer. I say, no, I'm not an influencer, I'm a celebrity. Because there's a huge difference with traditional press coverage and just going on TikTok and, making contents and, making yourself look stupid and, getting some fame out of it.
Oh my God, this episode is going to be called Elitist Mindset.
It's not. Absolutely
no,
not.
I'm joking. No, of course. No, I agree. there is a difference, yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying this is because we're making a U-turn now, like, the social influencer, like put everything on steroids, like, marketing on steroids. That's what influencing was about. Use hundreds of different influencers to get your brand out there, and it was quick. Now it's like it feels like we've hit the rock bottom. Now do we have to go back into maybe the traditional storytelling, magazines, newspapers, the hard PR?
I agree. And you know what? People should respect that you're saying this because you are, the CEO of your own company. You are an entrepreneur. So it's like, it's not just you having an opinion. It's you working for a significant amount of time with people, influencers and stuff. So you're talking with sense. And I agree. Maybe because, again, I've got a bit of an old school mentality about things, just because I feel like when there is a real structure behind something, again, that word, it makes a difference to just doing things like, I don't know, it feels like the Wild West in this online world. It's not regulated.
It's just all disorganized.
Yeah.
I think in your mind, you're thinking like just chaos.
It is. That's how I see it. Sometimes I think, oh my God, am I getting ADHD? Like, it just feels so like overwhelming where it's like there's so many different things. How do we like channel this where it makes sense? And that's where traditional infrastructures around marketing made sense because yes, there's, again, with everything, there's good and bad. Maybe it didn't give as many opportunities to people, but now we're aware of that. It just means, okay, it's not that system didn't work. It's just we weren't doing it in the best way.
Yeah. What's the difference between content creator and an influencer?
I think it's the same thing. Yeah, it's really the same thing. It's just they upgraded the word from influencer to content creator.
So that's a new thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
content creation.
And I prefer that because an influencer, it's like my mom's an influencer in her community. So everyone's an influencer. Whereas content creator, it makes sense. It's like you're creating content,
Now, where do you think this is all going in terms of, I guess I want to come back to what we were initially discussing.
Yeah.
This modest fashion space. Where do you think, what are we going to see, say, maybe in 5 years' time?
Wow. I think we've already kind of seen where it's gone because the peak of it, I would say, was when, like, I'm not saying it because I was in the campaign, but whoever it was in that H&M campaign, I would say that was definitely a very significant moment because it was literally a domino effect where then a bunch of other hijab wearing models got signed to agents. Brands were now working with women, within female, like Muslim influencers as well, way more than I think they were previously. So there was definitely a ripple effect. So now it's just like kind of coasting in a way. It's become
initially so it was taboo, like, having a Muslim person, it was associated with terrorism, Osama bin Laden, 9/11 stuff. And then there was I think middle phase where nothing happening. It was, I think, the ISIS phase where it's all in Syria. And then brands started maybe perhaps looking at how do we now appeal to that Muslim pound. It's strong, because us Muslims, where do we spend our money? We're not drinking.
Yeah.
We're not, wasting money on gambling. We're not doing so many things that where other communities would probably waste money on. So Muslims, they have that disposable income. They have that cash.
Yeah.
And that's why you'll see, I think generally Muslims are quite well off, as opposed to other communities, because we've always had the investing mindset, and and we don't waste money. So these brands, they wanted to appeal to that audience, and I think that's where people like yourself came in. You probably bridged that gap for them, and at that point it was just kind of probably maybe an experiment, and then it went to a point like, okay, no, we need to have a Muslim or a Sikh or Hindu just as a token of our diversity. We need to paint that picture, while we're all inclusive. And then now it's becoming a normal thing all over again.
Exactly. And I guess that was always the goal. It's to kind of just normalize people that are in society that didn't really get opportunities.
Do you think it will, like with fashion, who decides fashion and how it all happens? That's something that I've always wondered, how it all changes. Is it the brands that change the narrative? How does it happen all together? If one brand starts doing a certain direction, certain type of trousers, we've seen baggy trousers are back in.
Yeah.
Is there someone right at the top, a body or subgroup of people that are deciding the direction of fashion, or is it just a natural human cycle?
Everything's definitely, I think, looked at data and stuff to see, okay, what was selling a lot in the last season or whatever. So they know, okay, we'll keep a bit of that in there and maybe just update it in some ways or whatever. And then also, I think everything really starts from the top. I know they like to give this idea that, the people create change. Yeah, and some things, maybe in politics and stuff. But when it comes to I always use the example of plastic bags. Yeah, when they said, we need to stop plastic. I don't think anyone was saying, we need paper bags. They decided no more plastic, it was paper bags. And they changed it like that. And then everyone has to fall into line. Everyone's like, all right, cool, this is the new thing now. And I think with even with trends, it's we're going to popularize this. We're going to shove it in everyone's face until it becomes, same with music. We're going to keep hearing the same bloody song on the radio until everyone's subconsciously humming to it, whatever. And then it becomes the trend. And obviously from there, people, of course, can accentuate it more. So if there's that thing that's created and people like it, then immediately...
How can we become anti-trend? Because ultimately...
We have to change human psychology.
Because they are shoving things down our throats. Okay, there's quality for sure. With certain musics, it just rings, there's a rhythm to it. It's a quality piece of art.
Yeah.
However, it's repetition as well. Global distribution across the world. So as Muslims, I think obviously self-esteem and, once we have a good connection with our creator, all of that becomes, again, it's unnecessary. So, and generally I've seen, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. Sisters get influenced a lot and they get manipulated a lot through those ad campaigns, whether it's makeup, whether it's fashion, whether it's anything new. Even adjusting your body parts and, making you look in a certain way. So how can we become anti-trend? Is it important to become anti-trend?
I think so, yeah. Because if you're susceptible to easily following a trend, then what else are you going to easily follow? And from a Muslim perspective, you're going to easily follow the Dajjal then when he comes along. That's the kind of extent. If we look at it from that perspective, we can say actually, again, protection or prevention is better than cure. So I would say it's important for definitely for people to be conscious. If they are easily influenced by following trends, you need to check yourself and ask why. And I think for everyone, not just women, but I think people, sometimes we want things because we want to show it off rather than we actually want it for ourselves. And it all starts from within yourself. Once you're really comfortable with this is the kind of world I want to live in. This is the lifestyle I want to live for me. Why does it bring me joy? Why is it good? Da, da, da. You won't get as distracted by other stuff because you're like, oh, that's nice for them, but like that's not what I want.
How do you come to that frame of mind? I mean, that is the right. I think that's a normal frame of mind to be in, but that's not the case out there. People are doing crazy stuff to get attention and validation. How can they? Because I feel it's wrong and it's sad on them, but I also feel like it's not their doing it. They're being pressured and manipulated, and they just don't know that they're being manipulated. How can they take back control? Because you said something earlier on, I think while we were on record or before record, like you like to be quite ignorant, and in a sense that you don't want to get too much information, and you want to be up to date with every single social media trend. And I think it's quite important as well, because I sometimes unfollow stuff that I think might influence me in the wrong way. I would report it as not interested. I actively recorrect my FYP on Instagram because I don't want anything haram to pop up. And alhamdulillah, I think I've managed to do it because it's all business now.
Oh, that's good.
So once you start reporting it, I mean, is it the same structure where you just start unfollowing stuff that would likely to influence you?
Distract you. I think being busy is one way, because when you set like a goal, or again, you have that image of the lifestyle you want to live and you're working towards it, you're too busy then to like focus on other things. Even like with shopping, alhamdulillah, I don't really have I like to obviously shop, but I don't, it's not really, I have better things to spend my money on basically. So because of that, I'm not really like, if something new come out, I don't even know what's going on because I was like, I'm not focused on that. And that's where I think the key is for people to have a focus. And that's where the problem starts, because they're constantly trying to distract you, whether it's outside, online, whatever it is, you're being constantly distracted. So then you don't know what your focus is. So then everything becomes like an opportunity or an option. So when they say everything starts from within, it really does start from within. And because the scary thing is they're trying to obviously get people while they're younger. So once you're getting children confused and lost, they're going to grow up like that. So it's going to be a bit harder to recorrect it than, someone that's just a bit older.
It's I hope our young people, because I do study a lot, like in terms of what power moves or what powerful people do to manipulate, I guess, the masses and normal people. And it's manipulation everywhere, whether it's advertising, whether it's, selling, there's an element of convincing, I don't say manipulation, but there's some form of manipulation everywhere you look. Yeah. Now, we're almost up. It doesn't feel like we've been speaking for quite a considerable amount of time. I feel bad not talking about Palestine because it's something that is very, very close to my heart. And while I may not scream and shout about it, from the rooftops, out of emotions. Emotions are good. We should pray and we should channel it in the right way, I think. Sometimes you'll find people telling you of, like, once there was a protest going past my house and someone said to me, hey, come and join the protest. Like, yo, that bear, like, emotionally charged. I said, bro, like, my kids are upstairs. Like, I need to be with my kids. So I do sympathize and it's something very dear and close to my heart. I know you signed up to Human Appeal as well as a ambassador to raise much needed funds. What are your thoughts? Because some of the brands that you have worked with, obviously quite perhaps publicly, they are for...
They're blacklisted now, it's interesting because that's definitely affected, I think, for people that are more conscious of wanting to not work with certain brands. Of course, then it's affected you because you actually realize, wow, the people with the most money were the brands that, you're not really working with anymore. So, that's also something to think about. But what's interesting is that I would have thought if Muslims are not spending any more from those brands, that we should be spending with our own. And I don't know if that's actually happening. I don't know if there's been like a spike increase in Muslim brand owner sales, because if there hasn't, then where, like,
where is it going?
Yeah.
It has to be rechanneled somewhere.
And this is kind of part of, I guess, our own community. I know, so this is like going on a different rant now.
No, go. I mean, feel free to talk. I mean,
this is something within our own community where it's like that, in a way, out of something so disastrous, there is an opportunity for us to do better with our own community. Are we taking that opportunity to do something better to support our own people? And that for me is a question. I don't know. I haven't obviously like done a deep dive on any like stats and stuff, but I know that I'm consciously more. I've written articles as well about like what brands we can support, shining a light on, especially my friends who are, you know, brand owners, whether it's skincare, fashion, makeup. And I think if there's any message today, it's like, that's what we should be doing. If we are choosing to not eat or shop or whatever from these places, where are we going to spend our money now? Even me now, I've been drinking chai wala like way more than usual because I'm not going to get coffees.
I swear to God, same story here. I'm like, everyone that follows me on Instagram, they know how much addicted to I was to Costa. I was like every day morning routine. Like my day doesn't start without a Costa.
Yeah.
Now it's chaiwala, alhamdulillah, which is good, great. Yeah. It has the same impact, same kick, but I just looked at the calories this morning. I was like, okay, there's quite a few calories.
Just needs to offer just a bog standard coffee now. That's it.
Yeah, I just need just that. I'm switching to black coffee, I think, made at home now. So I don't know, but there's too many calories as well, like with carrot chai, not just specifically chaiwala.
Yeah, just in general.
I do enjoy it though. It's so nice.
I know, but that's like a good example of, you know, how we can consciously like make a difference and then, you know, help our own communities.
100%. And what do you think Muslim investors should do to really create that ecosystem? Because I feel like we need to really like, you know, broaden our horizon. Like I'm sure there's Muslim makeup companies, halal makeup, I don't know, there's so many different avenues and there's so many different smaller brands out there. Maybe they just feel like Muslim investors would never invest.
Which is a shame. I mean, I understand like if you're coming with this like idea like, Bhai Saab, just please help me out, and it's like, I can't trust you, even I can't trust giving you all this money to just help you out, you know. So everyone has to do their part. But if mashallah, there are so many established Muslim, and even if they're not Muslim, but just not with them kind of, you know, companies, like good ethical companies that we should be looking at working with and investing. Part of, I don't know if it's a cultural thing, but like marketing and that side of stuff has always been like not even a second thought, just like the last thought. And then we complain, they're representing us bad, or but it's like, we're not. Where's our investors into these industries? Where's our investors into like our films, our branded adverts, you know, like just the world of marketing and entertainment? I don't think we do enough. We'll invest in other things, but not in that space, and then we complain about it afterwards when it's not done right.
I think people just want to see the clear ROI, what's in it for me, and you know how much I'm gonna make. Inshallah, this is something that I've always wondered, like, you know, why isn't there higher budgeted Muslim films? I know they bloody cost like hundreds of millions of pounds if you want to really put something together nicely. Yeah. But inshallah, if I do become a billionaire one day, that is something that I would definitely want to, you know, allocate some funds in, inshallah.
I'll pray you do become, because I could make a film.
Inshallah. Now, last question. Feminism, what does that mean in your world?
That's the last question. Feminism, I mean, I feel like being a Muslim woman, you just live it. If you understand it, you just live it. It's not like a new concept for us. It's just like, Allah again has given us each our value. So when you know it, I think the problem is people just don't know it. But once you actually know it, then you just live like.
Why is feminism? Why is it like? In my view, and I think many men's view, is like you just bash men. Like, you know, you just hate anything men do.
I think that's one part of it. Yeah, that's someone. Again, it's like one of those things that probably started off with good intent, and then it just became corrupted. Obviously, again, there's good in it, but it depends on the individual, how they take it. Look at even Islam. Look at certain individuals, how they take Islam and run with it in a whole different direction. So it's the same thing with feminism. You get women who get an idea, use that feminism thing to like make excuses for what they're doing, and it's completely the opposite. It was supposed to be about equality, not like we're better than you and we deserve better than you in life. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that's what it's become. It's been pushed so hard and so much that the balance is tipping, and it probably has tipped already, because there's immense narrative, huge narratives against. It's like almost anti-men.
Yeah. And this is where I guess the ironies come in, because it's like on one hand, it's like anti-men, but then we want you to be better for us. So it's like...
Yeah, too much contradiction, man.
Yeah,
you guys need to fix it. You guys need to fix your narrative.
There is loads of contradictions and so many things. Subhanallah, like...
Subhanallah. So, we're going to end with a quick fire question.
Oh, God, I hate
Try and keep it as simple as possible. Apple or Android?
Oh, do you know what? Sorry, I just have to stop already. The first question, because all the things happening in Congo. I feel bad even answering that.
But obviously, like, now that we have a device.
Okay, the device I'm using is Apple.
Okay, good. Favorite fashion brand?
Oh, that's tough as well. I don't have a favorite one.
Make your own, yeah?
I'm terrible with fire questions.
Mariah Idrissi.
Favorite? Yeah, why not? Yeah, let's call it that one. My own one. Okay, no, really. Oh,
really,
God.
yeah.
Do you know what? At the moment, okay, high street, because there's different. So if we just do high street, I'd say I like Reserved right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Morocco or Pakistan?
Okay. I have to give everything has to have context. I've never been to Pakistan, so I have to say
Astaghfirullah.
my mom's Baluchi, that's why. Like, it's a bit dangerous.
I think that should be on your to-do list. I know you like to do it.
100%. I really, really want to go, inshallah. That is like...
You should. I think you'll find it very interesting. If you don't like Pakistan, go Bangladesh with Isla or something and, check it out.
I definitely... But Pakistan has been on... It's not a bucket list. I have to go, I'm half Pakistani, so inshallah.
Did you ever have a favorite fashion shoot where you just enjoyed the experience, and what was it?
Favorite fashion? There's been a few really fun ones. They're always usually fun. Okay, I'd say a significant one was Fenty with Rihanna, because I got to go to Palm Springs, so we're in the middle of the desert. So it was like more than just the shoot. It was like the location was amazing.
Wow. Did you meet Rihanna as well?
Yeah, so we got to meet her as well. Wow. That was quite cool.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, Muslim man, brother, Akhi saying cool, like he doesn't sound good, but it is what it is.
That's all right. No judgment.
No judgment, please. And if you want to help my algorithm, do comment below and get it fired up. No problem. Favorite Muslim influencer?
I've got a few. Oh my God, everything is like so, man.
Manipulative.
I know, because like I have more than one favorite. Do you know what? Fashion. If I narrow it to fashion influence, I'm going to say my friend Sabina.
What does she do?
She's fashion? Fashion and lifestyle. And it's because I know her. She's got a great personality, mashallah.
What is your greatest fear?
I guess it's like losing your faith, subhanAllah. That's, everything else you lose is like, oh, whatever, I'm going to die anyway. So who cares? But your faith, that when you die without that is going to matter. So, yeah, God forbid. A'udhu billah.
I think everyone should definitely have that fear. I definitely work very hard to nurture that fear, and I think we all should do. Maria, Sister Maria, thank you so much for joining us. I think it has been a very insightful conversation, and I look forward to continuing our discussion around marketing and storytelling, and it might transpire into something quite interesting.
Inshallah, yeah.
Inshallah.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zah.
And that's it for today on Side by Side. I hope you have enjoyed our conversation. If you have, please do consider subscribing to our channel on the platform you are tuned into. It is your subscription that motivates us to keep edging forward episode by episode. If you have any guest recommendations and any questions, please comment below. And don't forget to share this episode with your family and friends. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.